food is king. That deer need to eat, understanding where they're eating, especially in places like the big woods, big timbered areas, even in agriculture. I mean, you see how acorns take over even in ag areas where people are like, oh, we're not seeing deer in daylight. They're nocturnal. They're, being back in the woods a little bit. But so being able to understand those things help so much for understanding deer, and then being able to understand it for the current year because things are constantly changing, and that was something we went over a lot today.
Constantly changing like kind of that focus in a lot of minds as a deer hunter. You're going to go to acorns, like it varies every year. Like 2 years ago, not much of an acorn crop. Last year was crazy. I mean, those that see the videos and then listen to this would be like, looking pretty good for this year. Yeah. I mean, we could walk out in my backyard and be like, oh dang, it's going to be a good year, which is awesome. And then I also look at, we were seeing a ton of new oak seedlings hitting the forest floor. So, that are growing. So it's like, man, this is great for me as a forester and these stands that we're managing. Like I love seeing that. And then as a deer hunter, that's going to be browse. So there's food, then it turns into browse. So that's kind of the excitement of seeing that, like, focusing at, this little window that we're in right now.
Yeah. Cause we had started, today off with going into an area. I'd asked you, I said, Kenny, find me a place we can go to that has the most just variety of forest types of trees that deer like. Dang, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, everything except for the chestnut oak, which isn't really that important.
Which, hey, that's right. We can handle that. We'll find a picture and let everyone see that.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah, and it's so like that place that we went into. Explain a little bit about the layout, and before you go into that, I just want to say, anyone that's listening, if you've heard me or watched my scouting videos, I talk so much about vegetation diversity and finding multiple habitat places in these certain areas. Those are things you can pretty much easily identify on a map, but not until you get into those places and get boots on the ground can you determine the quality of that vegetation, diversity.
Yeah. So I mean, the area that we're in today, there was a 100-acre clear cut, and then it was almost perfect. Northwest, southeast, we had these 4 lines going and had 4 different timber types, all almost touching one another. So we had a clear cut where we were looking at regeneration that was just cut this winter. And then beside it, there was a 30-year-old clear cut, kind of that small pole stand. So you had a whole different type of habitat there, more of in the cover world than browse. And then beside that, there was a shelterwood cut that was also cut this winter. So it's kind of in that between. There wasn't a lot of like regeneration started for browsing, for this season. Wouldn't be one of my target areas to think you're finding as a food source. But if we have that great acorn crop, which looks like we might, man, that spot would be great. And then just beside that, we had our slope and aspect changed a little bit, and it was amazing how different the timber was just in that little area. And I mean, this is my job. That's what I'm supposed to see. But then when we're out there looking at it in a different point of view, it's like, all right, this makes sense to me. Like, it makes sense, but I had to see it, even though I've walked that whole area so many times. But it's like, well, yeah, that's why we did this practice here at this time, and this practice here at this time, and this one here. It all kind of makes sense.
So on the topic of diversity, you just brought up a really good point, aspect. So slope aspect, north, south, east, west. Do you find in particular regions or areas that depending on that slope aspect, you'll have you can almost repeat it going to a different ridge on the types of trees that are on those aspects?
Yeah, you really could. Like and this is where it's like we can talk about it. Someone could listen to us, but it's being out there, boots on the ground, and seeing it. So like when they'll watch the videos that we did today first, and then listen to this podcast, and you'll see those videos, and that's when it get your boots on the ground. Go to your spots and just start paying attention to the different tree species, the different, am I on a north-facing slope, a south-facing slope, a east-facing, a west-facing, and you're going to start seeing that differences. Like we pointed that out in the scouting camp, I think the last 2 years, where they're on this property, which we aren't very far away, but boy, what a difference in timber trees, just the
Yep.
difference of the trees. Where there, it's like we had oak on one because it was a southwest facing slope. Made sense for where we were. But if we're down in this neck of the woods, it's totally different. We had, heavier oak stands on certain aspects, but more of Allegheny hardwoods, black cherry, maple on different aspects. So it's really getting to see it on the landscape.
Yeah, and that because I'll never forget when you told me that the one year of like, oh, in this particular area, these west southwest type slopes are, if you're going to find any oak trees, that's where they're going to be at. And I was able to repeat that on like 5 or 6 different occasions.
Yeah.
I was going through, I was like, wow, there's an oak tree. And I looked at it, it's like, oh, that's...
Yeah, and it like few and far between.
Yeah. It's wild to be able to understand that. But that can help, when you do find an area when it comes to, e-scouting or planning a route to go in and actually get boots on the ground scouting. If you're short on time, it's like, all right, I'm looking for this specific type. Maybe I want to check out this slope aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of the best things to do is like boots on the ground and learning where you're at is one of the biggest. You can be, the 10,000 foot view. Hey, if you're going onto this slope on a, more of a north and east facing slope, you're going to find more ash, which ash is few and far between now, but a better growing site for ash. But you could be in south central, southeastern PA and be like, well, hey, I'm on that northeast facing slope and I'm in an oak stand. Well, it's all kind of relative to where you're at.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. And all right, so to go back to the first spot we went into, which was a full on clear cut.
Yep.
And we were able to show in a 10-foot area, the stem count was extremely high.
Unbelievable.
So there was so much that was growing up there, and there was four different tree or plant species that deer ate in that area, and others in total.
Yeah. I mean, so we had red oak, red maple, black cherry, tulip poplar, and blackberry briars all within the distance of you to me away. And I bet the stem count between just like where we were sitting, there was a couple hundred stems. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm like, yep, we timed this right. We did everything, kind of just shows that, when a forest is managed properly, that's what it's supposed to look like.
So give me the history of that cut so people can understand if they see something, they come across it, what stage it's in, kind of what it might look like in the future. Because, when it comes to forestry and when it comes to hunting places, I think a lot of times you have to, unless you're on an out-of-state trip, but you're basically planning for the future and trying to understand and learn to help you in the future as much as the present.
Yep. So the first stand we were in was I'm going to use the term clear cut. A lot of people, politically correct, don't like the term clear cut. That's what it is. You were clearing out the overstory to provide full sunlight to the understory. So with the species we're trying to grow, and I've hit this many a time, are shade intolerant. So they need that full sunlight to be able to flourish. So what we did is, the first timber sale, and I, had to talk to my senior advisor to get all the correct dates, and for some reason he could rattle them off probably to the year, is that stand was thinned in the mid-'80s. So what was done there is thinning around, like looking at the dominant trees and, what will be looks to be the best growing stock, and thinning around those to give them more room to grow. And then there was a second thinning done because it was probably an oak stand. So then with we look up at a big oak tree and oak tops, and they just take up a huge amount of room, right? So when those crowns are all touching, it really kind of slows their growth. So we thinned again to promote more growth in the mid to early 90s. And then in 2017, we did a shelterwood harvest. So that is, where economic returns really kind of start then. So in the shelterwood harvest, we are not really looking to promote growth of the remaining stand. We're looking to get sunlight on the forest floor. So the trees that are left are your dominant trees, spaced out where there's sunlight, reaching the forest floor and getting that regeneration started. So in the shelterwood process, we like when the harvest take place, the tree tops are down on the ground protecting that seed source, so the regeneration's coming up. Mm-hmm. And then, when the regeneration is getting and in ankle high, knee high, waist high, head high. In that point, that's when it's time to give those, to release that regeneration, because there's other species that we really aren't looking to grow that don't have a huge wildlife value, don't have a good economic value, like black birch. They can survive in that mid kind of, there's more shade tolerant.
Yep.
So we want to get the oak, the tulip, the maple, the cherry. We want them to take off and give that jump. So when that birch starts kind of out competing, that's when it's time to give the full sunlight to those desirable species. And that's what we did this past winter.
Yeah, I mean, so look at that. That's a dang near 40-year process in that particular 100 acres.
Yeah, yeah.
To get where it's at. And it was obviously playing that long game, seeing what we saw with that regeneration. And so I have an example where there's an area that I've been hunting. I started hunting it in 2015, and that year they had done shelterwood cut in there. And then all of a sudden, a few years ago, I saw some herbicide spray. They were getting rid of some of the beech. It was just getting taken over by beech and ferns. So they went through that, and then some more stuff started growing back up, and then they just clear cut it this past winter.
Right.
And so it's like kind of the same type of stage that you're seeing, like this longer term, play with it. And I don't know what they did with it before 2015. That's when I first started going in there. But it was super interesting to see that.
Yeah, I mean, when you're seeing it, whether like as a hunter, if you're hunting a large tract of timber company land, a large, state game lands, state forest land, national forest, whatever it may be, or even a well-managed small family farm, family ownership, like it's not just willy-nilly, hey, those trees are big, let's go cut them. Like there's a plan. Like even like the investment companies that we work for, like, yes, we have to turn a profit for them, but we're preparing those harvests 10 years out.
Yeah.
Like I know these stands is like, hey, I am working on a budget starting the 1st of August to plan what we're doing in 2030, 2033, 2035. Like we're, looking at that long term.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with your buddies. Leave us a rating, a review, and subscribe. If you want to check out more content like this, there's plenty in the links below. We truly appreciate having you guys along with us.